God told me to warn you, do not ignore the next shift that is coming toward your life, because someone is about to call you, and this call will not be casual, empty, or accidental. It will not come to waste your time, and it will not sound like the confusion you have already survived. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Heaven has already moved before that phone ever rings. What is coming is not a small interruption. It is a signal. It is a turning point. It is a moment God has allowed to rise at the exact second your spirit is ready to discern what your emotions could not understand before. This person is going to speak with intention. They are going to say what they held back. They are going to release words that have been forming under pressure, conviction, and divine stirring. And when you hear them, something inside you will know this is different. Not because it flatters your ego, not because it awakens old attachment, but because it carries a weight that confusion never carries, clarity. The Lord is saying to you today, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, this is the way. Walk in it, as written in Isaiah 30:21. That is the atmosphere around this moment. This is why you must stay spiritually alert. Samuel heard the voice of God before he understood the fullness of the assignment. And in the same way, you may hear this conversation before you fully understand how deeply it is connected to your next season. But do not dismiss it. Do not mock it. Do not rush ahead of it. See, Isluki, Lewis once wrote in Mere Christianity, aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. And that is exactly what God is correcting in you now. When you stop chasing what is earthly above all else, the Lord begins to align earthly things under his hand. This call may concern relationship, restoration, or divine realignment. But above all, it is about God's order invading a place where disorder once lived. If you are receiving this word, comment 777, I will not miss what God is releasing. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this message with someone who needs confirmation today. This call is not casual, and that is why you cannot afford to meet it with a casual spirit. What is approaching your life carries consequence. It carries exposure. It carries revelation. God is not speaking about a light exchange of words that fades by morning. He is speaking about a moment that may uncover what has been hidden, confront what has been delayed, and force what is unresolved to stand in the light. Someone is about to speak from a place they could no longer silence. What they say may shake you, not because it is meant to destroy you, but because truth has a way of reaching places inside you that comfort never could. There are moments when heaven permits a conversation because the season of guessing must end. The Lord is bringing you to one of those moments now. That is why you must not answer from panic. Do not answer from old wounds. Do not answer from the voice of rejection that once taught you to expect disappointment before a sentence was even finished. Be still. Listen carefully. Discern deeply, because not every call changes your life. But some calls reveal that your life has already been changing behind the scenes for longer than you knew. The danger now is not only missing the call itself. The danger is misreading it. The danger is letting fear translate what God is trying to make clear. You have seen what confusion can do. You have seen how one unstable connection can drain peace, distort judgment, and leave the soul tired. You have seen how emotional uncertainty can become a private storm. So hear this warning with seriousness. If God is bringing clarity, do not cling to chaos because chaos feels familiar. If God is releasing truth, Do not hide inside delay, because delay feels safer than vulnerability. Esther did not step into her appointed hour by accident, and you will not step into this next moment by accident either. There is timing on this. There is pressure on this. There is mercy on this, for still the vision awaits its appointed time. It will surely come. It will not delay. As Habakkuk Iki Uch declares, what is coming to your ear has already been weighed by heaven. And even if the words reach you through an ordinary phone call, the spiritual weight behind them is not ordinary at all. Ask yourself honestly, have you been sensing in prayer that something was about to break open? Have you felt that holy tension? That quiet inner knowing that God was preparing a conversation before it arrived? Then do not brush this aside. Stay prayerful. Stay sober in spirit, because the next thing spoken over your life may not simply begin a conversation. It may close one chapter forever. You will recognize what is from God not by how loudly it stirs your emotions, but by how deeply it settles your spirit. That is the difference, and it is a difference you cannot afford to ignore. What comes from confusion pulls you into striving. It makes you analyze every pause, replay every word, question every silence, and bleed energy trying to decode what should have been clear from the beginning. But what God releases carries a different atmosphere. It does not need manipulation to keep your attention. It does not need fear to make itself feel important. It does not need instability to seem intense. When this moment unfolds, you will begin to notice that something holy is separating itself from everything that once exhausted you. The Lord is not leading you back into the prison of emotional guessing. He is not reviving old patterns just because they are familiar to your flesh. He is drawing a line between what wounded you and what will heal you. That is why this next step matters so much. Many people have mistaken anxiety for passion. Many have mistaken silence for mystery, inconsistency for depth, and emotional pain for love. But heaven is exposing that lie in your life now. God is teaching you that peace is not emptiness. Peace is confirmation. Peace is strength. Peace is what remains when manipulation has lost its voice. Elijah did not encounter the Lord in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in the still small voice. And for you, this is the hour where the stillness will say more than the chaos ever did. If this connection is truly being released by God, it will not demand that you abandon discernment to keep it alive. It will not require you to betray your healing just to hold someone's attention. It will not feed on your fear. It will meet you where truth lives, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. As Philippians 4:7 declares, that guarding matters now, because the enemy would love to make you suspicious of what is pure and attached to what is unstable. But the Lord is cleansing your expectations. He is retraining your heart. He is showing you that not everything powerful arrives with noise, and not everything quiet is absent of God. Some things are quiet because heaven is near. Some things are steady because God is in them. Some things feel different because they are different. So when this call comes, when these words are spoken, when this shift begins to unfold, do not judge it by the language of your past pain. Judge it by the fruit of God's presence. Does it bring you closer to truth? Does it leave you clearer, calmer, stronger, and more anchored in Him? Then pay attention, because that peace may be the very sign you have prayed for. The reason this message cuts so deeply is because it is not only about a phone call, not only about a relationship, and not only about what someone else will finally say to you. It is also about what has lived inside you for far too long without being healed. God is not merely addressing the future in this hour. He is confronting the fear that has been hiding inside your expectations. He is touching the places in you that learned to prepare for loss before love even had a chance to speak. Some of you did not become cautious for no reason. You became cautious because you watched things break. You watched promises collapse. You watched people say forever and then leave as if forever meant nothing. Some of you saw marriage through the eyes of pain long before you ever understood covenant through the eyes of God. And without even realizing it, you began to expect disappointment as a form of protection. You began to hold back, not because you had no love to give, but because your soul had learned that vulnerability could become a battlefield overnight. But the Lord is speaking directly into that wounded place now. And He is saying that your history will not be permitted to prophesy your future any longer. What happened around you is not the final authority over what will happen to you. What failed in one generation does not get to write the ending of your story. Gideon was hiding when God called him mighty. He was trembling when God spoke strength over him. And in the same way, the Lord is addressing you not only by your current fear, but by your redeemed identity. He is calling you by what grace has prepared you to become, not by what pain taught you to expect. Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing, says Isaiah 43:18-19. Hear that carefully. A new thing, not a recycled wound, not another disguised disappointment, not another attachment built on instability. A new thing. But to receive what is new, something old must lose its throne. The old fear must come down. The old agreement with heartbreak must break. The old voice telling you, this will end badly too, must be silenced by the word of the Lord. See, side to, Lewis wrote in The Four Loves, to love at all is to be vulnerable. That is true. But God is not asking you to become vulnerable without wisdom. He is asking you to stop calling emotional shutdown discernment. He is asking you to stop naming fear maturity. He is asking you to let Him heal what you can no longer heal by merely avoiding it. So let me ask you something before this next door opens. Have you been guarding your heart? Or have you been burying it? Have you been seeking wisdom? Or have you been obeying fear? Tell the truth before God. Because what He is releasing next cannot be carried by a heart still chained to yesterday. God is not telling you to rush, but He is warning you not to hide behind delay either. There is a difference, and that difference matters more than many people realize. Some have destroyed their peace by moving ahead of God, but others have delayed their healing, their obedience, and their appointed season by calling hesitation wisdom. The Lord is speaking with precision in this hour, because your next step cannot be governed by impulse, and it cannot be paralyzed by fear. You are being called into discernment, not desperation, into response, not recklessness, into obedience, not emotional passivity. This is where many lose what heaven was trying to place into their hands. They do not always lose it through rebellion. Sometimes they lose it through overthinking, through spiritual exhaustion, through the habit of waiting long after God has already made the way clear. But the Lord is not the author of confusion, and when He begins to move, He also gives light for the step in front of you. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you, says Psalm 32:8. That is not the language of abandonment. That is the language of guidance. That is the language of a God who does not play games with the destiny of the ones he has marked for purpose. So if this call comes, if this conversation opens, if this new alignment begins to reveal itself, do not smother it with anxiety and do not worship it with haste. Hold it before God. Test its spirit. Listen beneath the words. Ask what fruit it bears. Ask whether it pulls you toward peace, truth, and holy clarity, or whether it awakens the old cycle of striving and imbalance. Rebecca did not see the full map before taking her step, but heaven had already gone before her. And in the same way, you may not be shown the whole road at once, but you will be shown enough for obedience. Trust does not require total visibility. It requires surrender. The danger now is not only moving too fast. The danger is calling your refusal to move discernment, when in truth it is fear wearing spiritual language. So stand still before God, but do not fall asleep in your spirit. Pray deeply, but do not retreat from what he is making plain, because when the Lord opens a door, your assignment is not to force it wider, and it is not to run from it either. Your assignment is to walk through it with a steady heart and a listening spirit. Marriage is not a fantasy God designed to entertain your emotions for a season. It is not a beautiful idea meant to survive only while feelings are easy. Words are tender, and everything appears effortless. Marriage is covenant. It is weight. It is responsibility. It is sacred alignment. And that is why what God is releasing through this call cannot be measured only by attraction, excitement, or temporary emotional intensity. You must understand this deeply now, because many people have entered relationships asking whether they felt enough, but never asking whether they were being built strongly enough to carry what covenant demands. The Lord is not merely preparing you for a moment of connection. He is preparing you for the kind of union that can stand when life becomes inconvenient, when emotions fluctuate, when pressure rises, and when love must become more than a feeling. That is why this message is so serious. God is not just speaking about who will call you. He is speaking about the standard by which you must discern what comes next. If what is coming into your life is truly from Him, it will not only stir affection, it will awaken responsibility. It will call forth maturity. It will expose whether both hearts are ready to build, to sacrifice, to honor, to endure, and to protect something holy instead of merely enjoying something emotionally satisfying. Too many have mistaken chemistry for covenant. Too many have mistaken excitement for spiritual confirmation. Too many have called a strong emotional pull destiny, when in truth it was only desire moving faster than wisdom. But the Lord is correcting that now in your life. He is teaching you that what is meant to last must be able to carry weight. It must be able to survive truth. It must be able to stand in the light. Ruth did not step into her future through chaos, manipulation, and emotional disorder. She was led into a place of covering, honor, timing, and divine order. And that matters for you, because what God is sending into your life will not ask you to abandon dignity in order to keep connection alive. It will not ask you to become smaller so that someone else can feel larger. It will not demand that you betray your peace just to preserve proximity. What comes from God will have the capacity to build, not merely to excite. The Lord was witness between you and the wife of your youth. She is your companion and your wife by covenant, says Malachi 2:14. That word covenant is not decoration. It is foundation. It means heaven takes seriously what earth often treats lightly. It means love is not only about affection but about faithfulness. It means a relationship is not judged only by how beautifully it begins, but by whether it is shaped to remain true when beauty must be defended by discipline, patience, and reverence. And hear this as well. God does not call you into covenant simply so that you can be admired, comforted, or emotionally fulfilled. He calls you into covenant so that two lives can come into holy agreement under Him, strengthening one another, sharpening one another, and carrying purpose together. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. Ecclesiastes 4. No Deo declares. That is the kind of strength this message is pointing toward. Not surface-level romance. Not unstable passion that disappears when challenged. Not a connection that only works in ideal conditions. God is speaking of something steadier, something weightier, something that can endure the friction of real life without collapsing. So as this new relationship begins to take shape, you must ask more than whether it feels good. You must ask whether it is godly. You must ask whether it is teachable, honest, sacrificial, and capable of covenant, because the Lord is not bringing you into another cycle of almost, nearly, and not quite. He is separating you from relationships that consumed your emotions but could not carry your calling. He is bringing before you the difference between being wanted and being wisely joined. That difference will define the future. God is not releasing this to entertain your loneliness. He is releasing it, if it is truly from Him, to establish something that can be trusted. So do not measure this next step by butterflies alone. Measure it by fruit. Measure it by peace. Measure it by whether both hearts can stand under the holy weight of what they claim to desire. Because covenant is beautiful, but it is never light. It is sacred. And what is sacred must never be handled carelessly. Love cannot survive on feelings alone. And that is where many destinies have quietly collapsed. What begins in excitement often dies in pressure when two people were drawn together by desire but never prepared for the weight of responsibility. Hear this with seriousness. Because God is not only speaking to you about romance, He is speaking to you about structure, endurance, stewardship, and truth. A relationship may feel powerful in a peaceful season, but the real question is, what happens when bills must be paid? When timing is inconvenient? When sacrifice is required? When one person is tired? When the future demands planning? And when love must prove it is more than language? This is where fantasy breaks. This is where immaturity is exposed. This is where many have confused being wanted with being ready. The Lord is making this plain because what He is releasing in your life cannot be built on wishful thinking. It cannot be sustained by attraction without discipline. It cannot be protected by prayer alone if both people refuse wisdom, effort, and accountability. God never called you to worship money, but neither did He call you to call disorder faith. There is nothing holy about irresponsibility. There is nothing spiritual about avoiding preparation and expecting covenant to carry what character never built. Joseph did not preserve nations by emotion. He preserved them by wisdom, restraint, foresight, and obedience under pressure. In the same way, the person who walks with you into covenant must not only know how to speak love, but how to carry weight, manage burden, and remain steady when life becomes costly? For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost? Luke 14:28 says, that word matters now, because real love counts the cost and stays honest about what it sees. It does not pretend weakness is strength. It does not decorate laziness with spiritual language. It does not promise forever while refusing the labor that forever requires. And this is where many hearts have become confused. They expected another human being to satisfy a depth of longing that no created person was ever meant to carry. C. S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, if I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. That is why you must never enter love, demanding that a person become your heaven. They are not your savior. They are not your source. They are not the answer to every ache in your soul. Only God can occupy that throne. A healthy covenant is not built when two empty people try to consume one another for relief. It is built when two people come under God, tell the truth about reality, and choose to build with reverence. So ask yourself honestly, do you want chemistry only? Or do you want covenant that can survive pressure? Do you want to be adored for a moment, or built with for a lifetime? If this word is reaching you, comment, 777, Lord, prepare me for what can endure, and say in faith that you will no longer confuse intensity with readiness. The person God sends into your life will not compete with his voice. That is one of the clearest signs you must remember in this hour. Because many have mistaken spiritual distraction for emotional connection and then wondered why their peace began to disappear. What comes from God will not pull you away from prayer in order to keep your attention. It will not make compromise feel normal. It will not slowly teach your heart to love attachment more than obedience. If this relationship is truly being released by the Lord, it will not weaken your spiritual discernment. It will sharpen it. It will not make you smaller inside. It will call you higher. It will not flatter your flesh while starving your soul. It will create room for truth, room for prayer, room for holy alignment, room for the kind of love that does not fear the light. This matters deeply, because not every connection that feels powerful is pure, and not every person who speaks beautifully is sent by God. Some people awaken emotion but disturb destiny. Some people offer affection but erode conviction. Some people know how to enter your heart while quietly pulling you away from the very place where God has been healing you. That is why you must not judge this next relationship by charm alone. You must judge it by direction. Where does it lead your spirit? Does it make you hunger more for what is true? Or does it slowly numb your sensitivity to what God has been saying? The Lord is not sending someone to replace his place in your life. He is sending, if this is truly from him, someone who can walk with you under his covering. Amos 3:3 asks, can two walk together unless they are agreed? That agreement is not merely about interests, personality, attraction, or timing. It is first about spiritual direction. It is about whether two lives can move in step under the hand of God without one becoming a burden to the other's calling. Think of Priscilla and Aquila, who did not merely share affection, but shared labor, faith, and purpose. Their union was not ornamental. It was useful in the kingdom. That is the kind of alignment you should recognize and honor. And hear this carefully. The right person will not ask you to dim your devotion so they can feel more secure. They will not resent the oil on your life. They will not mock your consecration. They will not force you to choose between peace and closeness. Instead, they will respect what God is building in you. And they will understand that seeking first the kingdom, as Matthew 6:33 declares, is not a threat to love, but the only way love can remain clean. So when this person comes, watch not only how your heart responds, but how your spirit responds. If the connection invites you closer to God, deeper into truth, and stronger in peace, then pay attention. Heaven never sends a relationship to destroy the very calling it has already placed upon your life. Even what is sent by God will still have to pass through the reality of human weakness. And that is why you must not enter this next season with fantasy in your eyes.